Okay, we have some breaking news right now at 5. Elementary school kids rushed to the hospital on Long Island, and the heat is to blame.
Let's get right to our Diana Rocco in Rockville Center. Diana, what are you hearing?
Hi, Ernie and Sharon. We're right outside Riverside Elementary School in Rockville Center, Long Island, where just a short time ago, 12 students and one teacher were taken to the hospital and treated for heat stress. We just spoke with the first assistant fire chief, who tells us that the kids were inside a hot auditorium preparing for a concert later tonight. He got the call that one of the students wasn't feeling well around 3 o'clock this afternoon, but situation. Two of the children had passed out, and numerous children were laying down in the office, in the nurse's office, complaining of being lightheaded, nauseous, dizzy. He said a few of them had actually stopped sweating. Come to find out, the children ages 7 to 12 were rehearsing inside the auditorium for a concert later tonight. The fire department says it was well over 100 degrees inside that auditorium, and the air quality was extremely poor. He said there were as many as 100 children inside there. The fire chief says he has no doubt that the temperature inside that auditorium was the cause of this sickness. They did test for other substances but didn't find anything unusual. He did talk to the school administration after that and says that he advised them to cancel this concert tonight, which they agreed to do since the auditorium is not air conditioned.
Well, we spoke to school administration. We recommended that in the future that they do not have that amount of kids in that kind of space in this kind of air temperature. It's just not a good thing. It could have been a lot worse. It could have been a lot more people involved, and it's just not a good idea to have that many kids in that kind of tight situation when the air temperature is over 100 degrees for any length of time.
How many kids were in the auditorium?
I don't have the exact figure on that, but it's probably upwards of 100 kids.
Again, 13 people were taken to the hospital here earlier this afternoon, 12 students, including one teacher. They were treated for heat stress. The fire department says they don't believe that is anything too serious. They are hoping those kids and that teacher should be released later this evening, and that concert has been canceled for tonight. We're live in Rockville Center, Long Island. Sharon, Ernie, back to you.
All right, thank you, Diana.
And joining us right now with more on the risks of extreme heat to children, emergency physician Dr. Mark Melrose of Urgent Care Manhattan. Thank you very much for joining us today. We just saw Diana's story. We're talking about 101 record temperature in Newark. It's hot, and let's talk about the children and the babies that are at high risk during this extreme heat.
Children and infants are at much greater risk for heat illness and the effects of the heat because they have a different physiology. Their body weight to body surface ratio is different than adults, and so they have a much harder time regulating heat.
Now, what should parents know when they're watching their kids play Little League or whatever? My sister keeps sending me pictures, and I'm thinking it's kind of hot out there to play.
Make sure your kids have plenty to drink, cold water, cold sports drinks, and try to limit outdoor exercise as much as possible in the heat because it's so much more difficult on very, very hot days to get rid of heat from your body. We don't want to have any situation where a child becomes ill or sick from heat.
Right. Doctor, you know, we cover so much of this material almost every year. You know, we're talking about heat stroke, for example, for not only children but for adults as well. What can we do to avoid that?
Heat stroke is the culmination of a spectrum of heat illness from the body's loss of its ability to regulate heat and get rid of heat. So particularly on humid days when your perspiration doesn't evaporate and cool your body, on days when there's bright sunlight and there's not much shade around, our bodies are at a risk of cardiovascular collapse or neurologic injury if we can't get rid of the excess heat and the body temperature climbs too high.
All good advice for us.
That's right, Dr. Melrose. Thank you so much for coming in tonight.
Thanks so much.
Okay. We hope everybody stays cool.
Yes.
Okay.